location. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Anthonia Onwugbufor, Business Development Manager. And today we're going to have a swell time discussing office politics, whether to play or not. Before we introduce our guest, I would quickly give a brief of what we do at EdgeEcution Consulting. So basically, we're a business management consulting firm, and we provide recruitment service, we provide trainings, we provide SME Business Accelerator Program. So if you are an entrepreneur on the platform or in the room today, you might want to connect with us afterwards to help you so we can work together in order to accelerate your business. We also provide team bonding retreats. And lastly, we do HR consulting solutions. So that's a brief of what we do at EdgeEcution Consulting. So for this evening, we do not have so much rules per se, but we want to plead with everyone to mute your audio and your video during the session. If you do have a question, feel free to just raise your hand or type in the chat, and we will do justice to your question. So basically, our monthly business conversation webinar is a learning, networking, and consulting intervention program. That's basically what we do here. So that's just to say that there shouldn't be any form of holds back. Whatever questions you have, please feel free to ask so that we can bond together and help one another. Thank you. So we have the CEO and the COO of EdgeEcution Consulting here in the room. The COO is Mrs. Immaculate Steve Harris. I'm sure most of us can see her. Her video is on. And then, of course, the renowned Mr. Steve Harris, which we all know, he's the Chief Executive Officer of EdgeEcution Consulting. All right, so I'll hand over to the COO and so that we get started. Thank you very much, and please have a great time today. Let's all have a great time today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tonia, and thank you everyone who has joined. We really appreciate you taking time to come be at this meeting with us. Basically, this is just like a forum to like educate people on, you know, different aspects of office or businesses that may be affecting you in one way or the other. And today, this office politics thing is a big deal. If you were at the last session, at the last webinar last month, I'm sure you heard us bring it up over and over again, but we just wanted to take a pause and make sure that we dedicate one special, you know, session for it. For a lot of people, it's a deal breaker for them, no office politics, and for other people, it's like, let's go full all throttle in, you know, office politics is the thing. But the thing is, we have a renowned guest today who understands office politics and has his own personal experiences on office politics. But before I even go into, because I'm excited about this topic, I have my own take to it. I'm not going to share it yet. I will just wait for our guests to come. But before I go all the way in, I would like to introduce our CEO, and so he can come, you know, give us a chat here and there. Here's, you know, our chief strategist, he's the chief, you know, chief everything. You know, we go to him when we're stuck, and then he is trained a lot of business owners. He has coached a lot of them too, and he has worked with a lot of multinationals, including oil and gas and banks and the rest. And so we're grateful that he can join us today. I'm sure he's going to drop some nuggets to here while we wait for our guest speaker. So welcome with me, the one and only, the fine silver bearded man in it.
Yeah.
Steve, hey. Welcome,
Good.
welcome.
Well, good morning, my time. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time off your busy schedules to join us in this business conversation. I know that it's a weekend. You should be chilling, but thank you for giving us about an hour how we can share with you how you can navigate, the pull of office politics. Let me just start, even though I'm not the speaker, but let me just start by asking you to just very quickly drop in the comments. Should we be involved in office politics? Or let me put it this way, is office politics good or bad? So simply drop in the comment yes or no, whatever you think. Is office politics good or bad? Just drop in the comments yes or no, and let me see if I can see the comments. Come on, guys, hit me up with the comments. Is office politics good or not? Husseina says it's good. Thank you, Husseina, for being the first to comment. Heir to the Kingdom says it's good. Fantastic. Anyone else? Remember, there are no wrong answers, and it's okay if you feel like it's not, then it's fine. Hello, Karen, Dr. Businesswoman says it could be both. Stilim says it's good. Interesting. I'm waiting to see somebody on the other side of the fence. Office politics, to play or not to play. Is politics evil? Because I do think a lot of us believe that politics is evil. Hey, Karen. A lot of us believe that politics could be evil. Tonya says it's good provided you don't hurt others. It could be evil. Thank you, Rule One. Presh says, whether we like it or not, there's politics everywhere, including office, so we should get involved in it. Julia says it depends. I feel it can get very toxic. Ukamaka says it's good when it's in your favor, but if it's not, chai, I like that. Heir to the Kingdom says it depends on the government you work for. Absolutely, absolutely. So it does seem like we have a mixed bag, even though it seems most of us are skewed towards being able to play the Game of Thrones, which is the game of politics. I think a lot of people, when they consider office politics, they think of it like kissing up or kissing butt, for the lack of a better term. They feel like they're kissing up to their bosses, and it's not a true test of value and worth. But let me ask another question. Do you think office politics, the ability to play office politics, outweighs competence? So can you be good, can you be poor at your job, but excellent in office politics and succeed? Let's limit the question that way. I'll say it again. Can you be poor at your job and very good at office politics and still succeed in the corporate space? What do you guys think? If you're good at office politics and you're not so great at your job, do you think you can get ahead quite significantly? It's a trick question. I just want to know. No wrong answers. Just drop a comment. Do you think you'll be able to get far understanding the battle of office politics? Hosseina says no. Interesting. Interesting. Fresh says no. Okay, cool. Interesting. Okay. Seems most of us say no. Gold says no. Interesting. All right. You won't last if you're not good. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Rowan. Let me flip the question this time and ask you, if you're good at your job and you're poor at office politics, do you think you're going to go far? If you're good at your job, but you're poor at office politics, do you think you're going to go far? Husseina says no. Heir to the Kingdom says no. Says no. Press says no. You may succeed for a while, but it'll eventually catch up with you. Ukamaka, forgive me, says no, you won't go far. Gold says no, you won't go far. Okay, interesting. So right now, it does seem like you need to be able to do both. You need to be able to manage understanding. Thank you, balance. You need to be able to manage the balance between being good at your job but also understanding politics, all right? Understanding how the game is played and how you can position yourself for favor, all right? I'm gonna ask one more question, but while I'm about to ask the question, I'm just gonna ask our COO very quickly to share her thoughts on office politics. So my boss, you have the floor.
You see, I was trying to avoid this part of it. My own take to office politics is a bit, let me see, biased. But what I think is sometimes you need to make strategic relationships to help push you up the ladder, or to help make you be seen. Because sometimes what we find out that is there are people who are not doing so much at work, but you find out that somehow they're climbing the ladder. What is it that they are doing? And then you, who you just know the work, but you will not manage relationships that help you or that will strategically position you. So I feel like politics is just the, game of strategy. That's understanding who can help position you, who can mention your name in places, and ensuring that you even have the ears of someone who can actually speak about you. That's it. I believe you should do your work to the best that you can, excellently well. But I also believe that you should also know people who like the table shakers or the king makers in the organization, so that while you're doing your work, you're not also overlooked. I feel like a lot of people have been overlooked because they don't know how. So when I'm talking about managing relationships, I'm talking about office politics, because I believe that's what it is about. I don't think that people should go in all the the extreme of being dirty at the politics. I just feel do your work, but make sure that you know the kingmakers, the people who have the ears of the management team, or somebody in the management team can actually speak for you. I know people who have lost out on promotions because there was nobody to actually mention their names during considerations. And because of that, they lost the opportunity. But all I believe is do your work well, and so that when they're mentioning names, somebody, your own person, is already on the table and can mention your names. Don't be that person that's just saying, oh, I am work. It just reminds me of that, what is it called? The wise poor man who, gave advice, and at the end of the day, he was like, poor because nobody mentioned him. Don't be like that, saying, oh, I'll just do my work and somehow somebody will mention me, or the people, when they are discussing who they should promote, they should mention. Do your work and then strategically position yourself to be seen, and then you will be rewarded accordingly. That's my take. Oh, I know that a lot of people are like, no office politics and it, but for me, everywhere I've worked, I've always found the ears of somebody who is in a strategic position. And because of that, I've been able to shape culture. I've been able to infuse some things that we didn't have at the time in the organizations that I was working with. I remember at one time, I worked in an organization that had just started, and we were just always complaining amongst ourselves, oh, no staff boss, oh, our salary is low and all. But I had someone in the office who was in the management team. And then, one day I just, put a presentation together and sat him down, only me and him, and I just showed him. And I told him, like, if you guys don't do something soon, there's going to be an explosion there. A lot of people will start leaving, and people will go to the union and all that. And do you know what? In their next management meeting, he proposed it. And because of what I was able to do, we got a staff boss, we got a salary increase. So what I'm saying is, have the ear of someone in strategic position. That's just playing politics in a good way. That's what I think. That's my take. I don't know what you think, Steve Harris. What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I do think that politics is about understanding where the power centers are in your organization. That's what it's about. It's first understanding where the power centers are and who the power centers are. Now, the thing about politics is that you have to be seen as being on the side of everyone. You know, you can't take a very overt position, because guess what? Those power centers sometimes are at odds with each other. I've had situations where, or I've seen situations where in an organization, there were 3 major power blocks, right? And affiliating overtly with one puts you in the crosshairs of 2. You know what I mean? So because you're affiliated with one, the other 2 start gunning for you. So it's about understanding who the power centers are and recognizing that power is transient, and you've got to be able to learn how to, while keeping your team and keeping yourself on side, you've also got to learn how to balance relationships with all power centers, where they consider you useful, where they consider you helpful. Do you get where I'm coming from? So, but I think a lot of people think that understanding office politics or executing during office politics is usually all about doing something bad, because we have such a very negative connotation of what politics is. You know, for most of us, we believe that politics is bad. And we say that simply because we've had a lot of bad politicians who have positions of power, but seem to just consistently try to enrich themselves at the expense of other people. We've been conditioned to believe that politics is dirty. We've got phrases like that. Politics is dirty, but here's my point. If if politics is dirty, then a lot of us need to go into it to clean it up, right? That's how politics becomes clean, when you clean it up. And I like to use the metaphor, and I know this is not about politics. We're going to tie it back to office politics in a second. I like you to think about a glass cup, right, that has really dirty water inside of it. So you've got a glass cup that's got dirty water inside of it. You're not going to want to drink it. But how do you take that dirty water in that cup and turn it clean? What do? You start pouring clean water into the dirty cup. And as you, exactly, you turn on the pipe. As you start pouring clean water into the dirty cup, what's going to happen is, for an instant, for a while, the clean and the dirty water are going to mix. They're going to mix. And if you maintain the pressure, what's going to happen? The dirty water begins to bubble and fizzle until it leaves the cup, and all you've got left is clean water. The problem with politics as a whole is that we don't have enough clean water inside a dirty cup. So we've got drops of water in dirty cups, and the dirty cup consumes the clean drops of water, so you can't tell the difference. But once you start having a critical mass of clean water and dirty water, what's going to happen is it's going to start mixing. You're going to start seeing that the clean is dirty, the dirty is clean. The clean is dirty, the dirty is clean. They're just mixed up in some way. But as you have an influx of more clean water, the dirty water leaves the system, right? So I'm saying this to remind us that politics in and of itself is not a bad thing, right? COO, could you please find out from our guest what his ETA is, how close he is to joining us? But in the meantime, I'd like to make this a bit of an open conversation before our guest joins us. So if you've got a question, or you've had an experience about how you've been able to navigate office politics, I'd like you to please raise your hand, and I'd like you to join the conversation. So this is not just us talking to you. We'd also love to hear from you and share the learnings that we've gotten with the house as well. So please feel free to raise your virtual hand. I see Clapton. Let me add my guy. Just a moment. There we go. All right, Mr. Clapton Isaac, what's up, bro?
Good evening, sir.
Unmute yourself. How's it going, bro?
Well, thank you. Greetings to all of you. I have a question around office politics, right? And I will speak about this using biblical terms and also using normal terms. Yeah. With office politics, there's favor, right? So let's say, for example, now you're in an office, you're in a corporation, a business, and the head of the business favors you, and everyone knows that this is evident, right? How do you then deal with the the jealousy that kind of comes from that from other people, because they can make it almost seem like it make it uncomfortable for you to operate, to want to kind of push you out. How do you not, for lack of a better word, sabotage yourself due to the tension that you're feeling from the external people, even though you love and value the CEO of the business and the business and its entirety?
I think that's a great question. So allow me to use, since you brought it from a biblical perspective, I'll go back to that for a quick second. So if you remember, Joseph was favored by his father as heir apparent, as the case may be. He gave him a coat of many colors. But Joseph was not able to manage those interpersonal relationships with his brothers. So sometimes we may have favor with our CEOs and our bosses, but we are not deliberate in managing relationships with our peers and our colleagues, right? And in some cases, there's literally nothing you can do, because those who are going to hate you are going to hate you because they're going to feel like it should have been them. They're going to feel envious and so on and so forth. But you, as much as possible, you have to still be gracious. The thing about power or responsibility is that it's the grace in which you wield it, right? If you don't want to come across as being, I don't know the right word right now, but if you don't want to come across as being egocentric, you've got to be able to balance that power with grace. Balance that power with, grace. And the thing about it is, once you have the ear of the decision maker, where you can, you need to try to see how you use that influence and power for the greater good, right? So the team doesn't feel like you're using that power for yourself to benefit yourself. They're looking at it and they're saying that you're using that power to be able to help the body as a whole, to be able to see how things can happen. So for example, you notice that the COO, my lovely wife over there, had mentioned how in her organization, she had the ear of the decision maker, but she used that information to, benefit the entire organization and other people like her. She could have decided to use that information to get herself a personal car, a driver, a chauffeur, better perks for herself because she had the ear of the key decision maker. But what she did was she took that information and then saw how she could make it benefit the entire organization. But let's also be practical. Haters are going to hate. There's some people that no matter what you do, they're not going to care how altruistic and philanthropic you are. They're jealous of the fact that you have access. Once upon a time in an organization that I worked in, I had the ear of my boss. I had tremendous favor with my boss, such that every time he would travel, he would buy stuff for me. Do you get what I mean? He'd buy stuff for the organization because it was a smaller organization at the time, but the things he would buy for me were a lot more significant than things that he would buy for other people. He would give me financial benefits. He paid for my first car, those sorts of things. But he didn't do it because he was a nice guy. He did it because I was significantly affecting the bottom line. I was bringing in money. I was the rainmaker. Do you get what I mean? So first off, to some degree, the access you have to circles of power depends on how valuable you are to that organization as well. So I was the chief rainmaker. I was bringing in most of our money. So it was only right for him to reward me with benefits. Now, some other people in the organization were very frustrated with the fact that, all these things were happening for me. But I tried as much as possible to, walk with grace, not be cocky or arrogant, and saw how I could use that influence that I had for the greater good. But, again, in that organization, there are a few people who really hated my guts, and I couldn't do anything about it. So you've got to learn how to manage power with grace. So that's what I would say, Clapton. You're welcome, brother. All righty. Let's see. I can see Ukamaka. Hi, Ukamaka. Could you turn your camera on if you don't mind, if it's okay? Then I can add you directly. Let me know if that's okay. All righty, I see you. Just a moment, Ukamaka. All right. Hello, Ukamaka. Please feel free to, I think, unmute yourself.
All right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy
Hello.
to be here. Okay. This office politics of a thing. what I want to put in is I have seen office politics sack someone over issues that should have been resolved with, I'm sorry, because that issue supposed to have been resolved with acknowledging the fact that this is my supervisor, whether you're more intelligent than him or her, you're not the one that put the person there. So what I'm trying to say is this, please, when you go into an organization, especially where you have about 2 or 3 persons that you're reporting to, be very careful with your relationship with one of them, especially if the 2 of them do not have cordial relationship. Because if, let me use the organization then, fortunately, I'm now the HOD now, but then the HOD and who we call revenue accountants, they were not actually in good terms, but it's none of your business. When 2 elephants are fighting, the grass suffers it. So what I was doing then is I found out that sometimes when I report to my immediate head, she wasn't reporting to the next person, and the next person will not be making it as if I'm now loyal to this person, but I was just obeying the organizational hierarchy. So what I was not doing is whatever I report to this person, I also report to the other person. I don't wait for this other person to report, and it was working well for me. But what happened to my friend and colleague? She had issues as a cashier. Then I so much believe this issue may not be fraud. Is a mistake anybody can make. But when the issue was brought forth, auditors came in. The auditor was very lenient, waiting for the department to settle it. What was remaining was for the second person who has the mandate to stop that issue. But because this junior staff was in good terms with the Oga Kwata, let me use Nigerian word, Oga Kwata, she neglected the second one. And she didn't read the politics. The second one gave her query as the second in command. And I know somebody advised her that since the first in command was officially on leave, she was now the first in command. She issued her another query again as acting first in command. So bridging the other one, there was nothing the accountant would have done. We begged the other girl, said, go and beg this woman, let this issue be resolved. She said no, that the Oga said she will solve it. And solving it is sacking her from the job. So what I'm saying is this, most times we expose ourselves because especially when you are still at the junior level, when they will be calling, you will not be called upon. When they're discussing about you will not be called upon. So what I want to suggest is this. I started working from scratch. I'm now the HOD, but I will tell you that when you are working in an organization, just like Sir said, mind your relationship. Be good, yes, in quote, be good with everybody. Treat everybody as equal. Never you ever think because you have the favor of your boss to not neglect the other person. If that your boss is being moved there, the second person will frustrate the hell out of you. So try as much as possible to manage it well. Let your reporting line be okay. Then another thing that I noticed, even now that I'm the HOD, is that we fail to differentiate personal issues, personal beef, and office reporting line. See, I once had a very queer relationship with my immediate boss, but I saw it as personal issues. Once we are in the work, every document that should pass through her must pass through her. Every greeting that must pass through her must pass through her. So I also advise people, please separate personal beef, especially as far as you are within the confine of that organization, especially where it's not a remote work. Even if it's a remote work, don't say this. Greet that person, report. Please don't bypass who you should not bypass. Don't bypass. That document must pass through that person. Hello, ma, there is this there. Do not bypass. Then lastly, never you think you're more intelligent than your boss.
Absolutely.
Even when you are being, because if you work with an insecure boss, you may feel frustrated. I understand. especially when I'm not Gen Z, but I'm dragging with Gen Zs. So especially
Yes.
when you want to be, you know, and it's favoring me. Most of us are still in the level where we were, but I'm the HOD now. But even when you want to contribute, don't make your boss look stupid.
Absolutely.
Do it as if you are like, this is my own. Is it good? The man who understands will say, yeah, that is great. But I've seen people frustrated with this. Don't assume you're more intelligent than your boss. All these are office politics.
Thank
Now
you
I'm
so
HOD.
much.
Some of those things that I complained then, I see play now. So what can we do? We keep moving. Thank you very much,
Keep
sir.
moving. Thank you so much, Chukwemeka. We really learned a lot from your experience. Thank you. Thank you so much. We love the fact that you shared with us. Thank you. All righty. Okie dokie. Victor Obo, I will bring you up in a moment, but I'm very glad to say that our guest is here. Our co-speaker is here. Let me just quickly add him. This is a gentleman that I've known for several years, and I have the most tremendous respect for him. So I'm going to read his profile. I'm going to read his profile because it would be remiss of me. It would be remiss of me not to share the value that he brings to this conversation. Just a moment. He's a pretty big deal, so just let me read his profile. Normally, you would probably tell me not to, but I will. So I'm just going to read a brief bio. So Richard Obiechie is a human resources professional with over 14 years of experience. He's a fan of writing, human capital development, training, systems reengineering, business structure development. He loves public speaking, and he's a movie buff. All right. Richard is a certified senior professional in human resources. That's SPHR. He's a certified project management professional, which is PMP, not PIMP. He's a Microsoft Dynamics implementation specialist, and he's also a Power BI trainer. He has worked with various companies as a senior human resources officer, training and development manager, business development manager, acting group human resources manager, human resources advisor, deputy group human resources manager. You can see he's a pretty big deal. Human resources specialist, and is currently serving as a head of human resources and administration for one of the nation's indigenous exploration oil companies. He's an excellent trainer, facilitator, productivity, and personal development consultant. Richard is an amazing motivational speaker as well, and is incredibly passionate about helping people reach their highest potential and becoming their best selves. And Richard is also my boss. Ladies, gentlemen, everyone, could you please give me some virtual high fives and virtual emojis and some fire in the comments as we welcome our speaker for today, Richard Obiechie. Don Richie.
Thank you.
Richie.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, sir. Hope you can hear me.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome.
Loud and clear.
Thank you. Sincere apologies. I came in quite late, but I apologize. Forgive me.
It's all good. No, you're worth the wait. Everyone is excited waiting for you. I can see Clapton literally jumping on his bed. Like he's like, all right, let's get this show on the road. So Richard, I'm just going to ask you one question, after which I'm going to get out of your way. So I want you to handle your business. So I looked through your profile, and your profile is very extensive. And you've navigated different roles and responsibilities. Just to name a few, senior human resources manager, training development, business manager, acting group human resources, all these different roles. You must have stepped on plenty toes, Richard. How are you still surviving? How are you mad? How did you manage to go through all these political roles in different organizations and become, so to speak, a leader? How did you play this game of politics? So that's my question for you. And I'd just like you to answer, and afterwards, please feel free to go into it.
Okay, fantastic. First, I would give my honor to God, who actually helps me navigate all the challenges or the adventure. I won't call them challenges in this conversation. The adventure that comes with the work. I'm using the word adventure because I want to change the perception or the narrative or the impression that people have about workplace politics. So permit me, for the purpose of this conversation, let's call it adventure within the workplace, right? So I am grateful to God for that grace to have been able to, go through all the organizations I've worked in the past 14 years, and I am still here. And, sometimes when I'm in my closet, I say these words to myself, I'm going to be here for a very long time. I have to really reassure myself that, and before I even continue, I know he wouldn't want me to, but I count it a very big honor and privilege to I would say this, I've known Steve Harris for getting to about 10 years now. I'll be very sincere. This is the first time I am speaking in the same platform, and on his platform. What do I know? And I'm grateful to Mama Harris for this privilege. I don't, they say, fathers are ladders. So I am where I am because Steve Harris gave me the opportunity to come close to him, and I've never regretted it at all. So thank you so much, sir, for this honor. I will summarize the answer to your question by saying that distraction is an enemy of distinction. So the challenges will definitely come. The adventure will come, the pushbacks will come, the very, very, very uninteresting moments will come. But when you refuse to be distracted by the pushbacks, right, or by the potholes, right, you will definitely experience distinction. It says, "Seest thou a man diligent in his business," all right, in his work, in that which has been committed to your hand. You will not sit before men. You will not sit amongst your colleagues. You will not sit amongst your contemporaries. You will sit among the greats. And you don't reap where you sow most times. You reap what you sow. And sometimes, of course, if you stay longer in an environment, there's a very high tendency that you will tend to reap what you have sown in that environment. So consistency again pays. I'm speaking on that because I see a trend. Somebody say I am in a toxic environment. It's perception. Somebody will say, "Oh yeah, I like the fact that my boss said, how did I step on toes, and how did I would say that yes, we can call that step on toes, for the purpose of this, but then when we were stepping on the toes, we did not know that we were stepping on toes. We were just expressing ourselves, and it's important that you express yourself. It's important that you make mistakes so that you learn. But more also is that you be in environments like this that gives you room to rub, like iron sharpen iron. Like you learn from the great. You learn from permitting to use the word, I love movies. You learn from immortals, the gods of Egypt. If you remember how they used to regard humans, they say you are immortal. He was a god, for small g, right? So if you sit around, there's no how that you would not be in tandem, or there'll be times there'll be friction. But you see, it's in friction that you become better. Yes. So refusing to distract yourself with your own weakness, but paying attention to the learning. This is key. Paying attention to the learning is what at the end of the day distinguishes you. Not giving up, not looking down, not feeling weak, not feeling discouraged, knowing when to apologize, knowing how to, that's actually speaking of me right now. Speaking about me right now, How did I go out of it? You need to learn to humble yourself and say, oh, I messed up. I own this career. This is my destiny. This is my career. I need to build it. I shouldn't allow my current mistakes stop me or halt me from the ultimate objective. The ultimate objective is to be one of the most preferred HR directors in East, West, and Central Africa. It has been on my Facebook profile since time immemorial. That's my objective. And I would not allow, some of those. So those are the things that, that's really helped me. Thank you, boss. Thank you. Okay. I can't hear you. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry about that. Just yeah. So thank you for that. I think that was quite profound. Just understanding the power dynamics and knowing that your objective, of course, is to be regarded as one of the best. So let's make it a little bit practical. You and I have had a relationship, a mentoring relationship, for going on a decade, and there's been conversations that you've had with me where in some of your organizations that you previously worked in, where you were considered as a threat because you had come into the organization and you were put in a role. And you and I had a conversation about one particular boss of yours who kept making things difficult for you because she perceived you as her replacement. How did you manage and navigate that relationship? Sorry, bro, you're muted. You're muted, bro. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So, okay.
Because we know what happened. So I want you to spill it, right? No filter. That's why I asked you that question straight.
Yeah,
That particular lady, if you remember, she was really threatened by you. She was making things really difficult for you because she saw you as a replacement. How do you work with bosses who see you, who know that you're coming for their jobs?
Okay, fantastic. So I listened when at the intro when people were giving their views, and I heard somebody say, "Never outshine your master," right? And so you need to understand the timing. Part of what also helped me is understand the time. And I remember very well that we had this conversation, and if you serve well, you will lead well. One of the benefits of service is that when your time comes, it will get to you. There's a way it happens. It will definitely, get to you. And that's something that I will say that has helped me, So yes, I'll be very sincere. There were painful moments. There were moments that I wasn't so comfortable, with status quo, right? Yeah, it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel down. It's okay. I would not disapprove of, hold it, square your shoulders, act as if nothing. When you get into your closet, for some of us that are married, go back home, you go and cry in front of your wife, or go and pour your heart, or even go to the restroom if you can't even get home, because sometimes you can't even drive home, just go somewhere and do that. It's okay. But then, why are you here? I'll be honest with you. When you understand that this person has been placed in this place at this time of your life, part of the things also that helped me is to ask myself, what am I going to learn?
Yes.
Now, I would say this, sir, with due respect to everyone that I've worked with. For everyone that I worked with that at some point I had difficulties working with, I learned more with those people, than the ones that I had less friction with. You are not made under very normal conditions. You are made under hyperthermal conditions. There are conditions that scatters the dynamics of your career, all your belief system. So you need to understand that season of your life and ask yourself, how do I adjust? You see, growing up in terms of emotional maturity and intelligence, building up my strength in that area, I would say that I used to say in my classes that people don't blame who offended you. People blame you for how you reacted to the offense. Right. So
you gotta say that again. Run that back, like rewind selector. You gotta say that again, bro.
Okay, thank you, sir. People don't blame who offended you most times. People blame you for how you responded to the offense. It is you, how you took it, that some people will see it and say, there's nothing in this thing, really. Have you considered it this way? Have you considered it this way? And I know that Steve will not want me to do this, but one of your qualities is how you are calm in very, very trying times. Not trying, but in terms of when there's intense pressure, a demand on your skill, a demand on everything that's made you steam, right? So it's the response that really counts at this point. And that's something that I'm so glad that I have gotten right now. I'm not perfect, but it's been better over time, and each time, there are slip-ups, you go back and say, oh, I didn't mean it this way. I'm really sorry. I didn't, maybe I came out this way. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry heals a lot of things. Being right. So there's this book, I met a mentor recently, and she gave me a book also called What Got You Here Will Not Take You There. Won't get you there. Yeah, fantastic book. So part of the skill set that has brought you to this level in your career will not take you to the next level, especially when you are in leadership, especially when you are at that point where people have to look up to you. You have to even go back, to go and, be like a child. Not that, because I've arrived, So learning that also has helped. So, that time, I remember, I won't lie to you, that was why, I could come back to you and say, oh, I feel so down, but looking back now, part of my very treasured strengths in human resources came from those difficult scenarios that I'd encountered. I am better because I went through that process and I came out strong. Yes, thank you very much.
That's great. Let me ask you this, right? You just mentioned the fact that what got you here won't get you there, and that's quite interesting because I've seen that a lot of professionals, career professionals and executives, competence gets them to a certain level, but relationships and networking is what takes it to the next level. So I've seen where career executives are great at their job, but they suck at relationships and networking. And that's actually what gets you into a place of position and power. It's not your competence. So let me ask you this question. What do you say to someone who's listening right now and is saying, I'm good at my job, but I suck at networking? For example, Rich, you and I know that there have been times that you've had to go to certain places because you're a good Christian boy. I know you're a good Christian boy, but you've been to certain places that on a regular day you would never be there, but you recognize that either a client you want to meet is there, or your boss says, we've got to go to these kind of places. You probably, for example, like you don't drink, you don't do any of those sorts of things, but for the environment, in order to close the deal, you've got to be seen in certain places. But there's certain people here who are, I don't want to use the word held back. I would just use the word they're conservative, and they feel like their competence should make room for them. So they quote the scripture, your gift should make room for you. But that doesn't always happen, because I say, if your gift hasn't made room for you, you need to make room for your gift.
That's true.
So how do you balance the fact that a lot of people who are listening are great at what they do, but they suck at networking and building relationships?
Okay. Let me say this. Thank you. So you have to, I think it's even better from the beginning of your career for someone who is actually starting their career right now or at the very beginning of their career. They need to understand that relationship is very powerful. Relationship, let me rephrase it. Interpersonal skills is one of the most important skills that you should have. How you relate with people, it's very, very, very key. In fact, where I work now, part of what we are very big on, is relationship. We try as much as possible to keep, what we own, keep what we catch, that thing they call, yeah. So if we have people, we make sure that they stay. So attrition levels are very low, very, very low compared to some of the organizations out there, right? So it's important. So if you are in that space right now, you need to now start redefining your circle of influence. All right. There are, of course, how part of the 7 habits of highly effective people, you need to look at things from that perspective and say people matter. Let me explain this now. So God will not come down from heaven to earth to come and assist you. He would use vessels. People are vessels, right? And understanding and appreciating people is what can, take you far. I was speaking with my CFO recently, and he said that there was someone who was, outside the room, let me use that word, but he had relationship power. It's one thing to have intellectual power, but another thing to have relationship power. He had a relationship power. He approached one of them at the executive level and said, please, sir, mentor me. Imagine, when he said that blew me away. Imagine, guys, that, just let's take, for instance, Steve, for instance. Go and meet Steve. Thank God Steve doesn't allow all these things I say to get to him, but, Steve is a great man. But let's come back. Now, imagine Steve, somebody meets Steve and say, Steve Harris, mentor me. I want to be your boy. I don't want anything from you. I want to be your boy. And Steve works in the company, as an executive director for a particular, or even he owns the company. And this is this guy. Here comes this guy. He's just, normal in the office, but he is Steve's boy. He doesn't even show it. He doesn't act it. There are people that will wear a chip on their shoulders that they know because they are MD's boys. No, but wherever MD goes and he's there, he will do things that everybody will be wondering, oh, who is this guy? But he's loyal. You see, there are times when conversations will happen, because when conversations happen, you will not be there.
Right.
But when your name is mentioned, somebody can just say, he's my boy, put him there. He's my boy. Take him, allow him go for the trip, and let him travel. No problem. He can be part of the team. Oh, really? Yeah, he can be promoted. That's fine. That's because you have been able to build that relationship. So ignoring people within an organization can lead to also your detriment. There is a limit to which your competence can. I mean, competence is good. Don't get me wrong. But competence sometimes might not hit the door open. Relationship will grant you that access so that you can showcase your competence. Somebody can say, I remember where I was working some time ago, and my boss invited me to management meeting that she wants me to do a presentation. That was powerful. I was leveraging on the relationship that I had with that boss at that time. Now imagine what that gave me afterwards. I became, I think, the secretary to the disciplinary committee, secretary to the compensation review, all because somebody opened the door where executive directors were sitting, where the MD was sitting, and that was it, because somebody opened it. So competence is good, but sometimes competence cannot bring down that door. What will bring down that door, I can tell you for a fact, it's the relationship. So if you want to work on yourself, if you want to, if you're saying that, oh, I don't know how to speak to people, you have to learn it. Number one is start asking people, how do you work, engage, have a topic of conversation. Oh, my name is Richard and I work with Talker. What do you do? What do you do? You don't say, oh, and don't stop there. Have an idea about everything. Get involved. Sometimes people will say, oh, I don't know, I don't understand. I don't watch news. Go and watch the news, my friend. This is the politics that we're talking about. And I'll make reference to, what is even politics? It refers to the informal power and influence that exists within an organization. So there are—
Richard, sorry, I know you have a slide. I think you have a slide. So I think this is the best time for you to just put it up. So just share your screen so that we can also see what you're seeing, because I can see the reflection through your glasses. That way I'm like, okay, you know what, I think you've got something to share.
Yeah.
So
or would you want me to put that up? Do you want me to share from
that's fine. That works for me too. That works.
Okay.
Yeah, I will just be making reference to it. Yes, that's fine. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll move to the second slide. Yep. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, so it refers to informal power and influence dynamic that exists in an organization. It involves the use of interpersonal relationships, alliances, and strategies to gain advantages, to control resources, and achieve personal or group objectives. Imagine having somebody in finance and you need something to be approved real fast. If you have the person and the person say, oh, this signature does not rhyme. Once the person knows that it's from you, he doesn't need to call. Maybe you sent your staff there and the person just needs to call you. Hi, Steve, I got something you want approved. We don't have funds now, but I'll look for funds and see how that can work out. That's because you have built that emotional capital, that relationship capital with that person. You need to look at the benefits. What should drive you should be the benefits. What should drive you is what you will become by relationship. I can't speak to people. You need to, okay, we have people who have hands lifted. When do we start handling that? At the end of the session? You're muted.
So just go with your presentation. After that, we'll
okay, great.
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir. So it's important that we look at that, having those power pillars, in the company on your side will really help you a lot in advancing your agenda. Now, I say agenda not in a negative way. I say agenda in a positive way. Being someone who keeps to himself doesn't help you get better. I know of an individual, where I work, and when he comes in the morning, he moves from office to office, greeting everybody. And you wonder, what is it? And that is how to build relationships. I mean, you can start it in your company and say, oh, fine. When I come in the morning, hi Tolani, hi Adiola, hi Gold, hi Chinero, hi Chi, you are just, hi Isaac, you just, hi Anthonia. Oh, this is it's a great day. Did you watch the women's match, the World Cup? Did you see what that girl did? Oh my God, fantastic. But you have time for yourself. I was speaking to somebody yesterday, and I remember what my classmate said to me in my final year. And she said to me, she said, Richard, you were 10 years ahead of us. We used to look at you and say, this guy, what's up with this guy? I was a bookworm. I didn't really have a lot of relationship skills because I knew what I wanted, right? But at some point, I discovered that when they're having those informal meetings, when things are going on, they don't involve me because they say I am not their class. You need to be able to know how to manage the impressions people have about you, right? So in final year, I had to now start. In fact, in my yeah, because it was 4-year course, in my 3rd year, 2nd semester, I had a carryover that actually brought me down. And that carryover was because I had to start learning how to relate to people. You know, it was even much more because, in fact, the way this was, you are doing your 3rd year in your 4th year, 1st semester. You don't worry, it's bloody somehow. But you know, Nigeria, we are fine. We understand ourselves like that, you know. So, but I had to learn that, you know, to be able to say, okay, I need to adjust. Because the truth of the matter is that when they are calling for maybe a get together, they will not call your name. They will not involve you. And you need these power pillars. I call them power pillars. You really need them. You really need them. All right. Importance of addressing office people can signally impact the workplace environment, both positive and negative. On one hand, it can foster healthy competition, innovative thinking, and collaboration. So you have an idea. You need to have somebody that you can run an idea with. No man is an island to himself. If actually men are islands, the CEO of the company will not hire you. So what makes you think that at this point in your career, right, that you know you don't need people? If the CEO felt it was necessary to hire you, therefore you should also feel that it is necessary to have people within the system that you can actually relate with and form and achieve the corporate objective. So those are very critical things. All right. So to navigate office it is essential to recognize this signs of its presence. Right. These signs may include favoritism, gossiping, hidden agendas, cliques, and unequal distribution of resources or opportunities. By identifying this indicator, employees can better prepare themselves to respond appropriately. Now, see what I wrote down here. Identifying them does not mean that you should detest them. Right? Identifying them is different from saying, I don't want to get involved. Identify them is different from saying, I don't want to associate with these people. But being professional, so that's where professionalism comes in. Being professional, very, very important. Knowing, okay, fine, this is favoritism at play. I know what to do in this point. This is gossiping at play. I know what to do in this point. Gossiping has positive sides too. When you need an agenda to penetrate through the system, go and give it to that person that talks a lot. And the person can help you foster and push that agenda. When you need, what's it called? You want to form, you see cliques, for instance, don't worry yourself. You already know, find the person who is in charge of that clique and make sure you keep that person close to you. I want to say this. If you get into an organization and they tell you that there are no politics here, please don't join the organization. Take it from me. You take it from me. This is gospel according to Richard. This is my own belief that I do not think that every organization should be without politics. Now, people might have different views about that, but this one, and I'm saying it, but it's being professional. It's knowing how do I manage the different divides? How do I look at negative politics and positive politics and know how to play around the boat and also not lose people at the end of the day? We came for an objective. We came to achieve the corporate goal, regardless of our uniqueness, right? You see, and that is very important because you see, they ask people, can you work with teams? And people will say, yes, I can work with teams. But the truth of the matter is that you can't even do that. They ask you, okay, can you collaborate? What do you understand by collaborate? But the truth of the matter is that you want to run on your own. The true definition I've come to realize, and I'll be sincere with you, I'm on a journey, right? Sometimes we as managers, we want to, push our agenda. But if you are able to communicate your agenda very well to a colleague, whether he's a superior, whether it's on the same level, or whether it's somebody beneath you, and the person believes and buys into your agenda, trust me, you have won half of your wars in the company. That is actually what makes you a leader. Ability to influence people towards a direction. So what are the motivations behind office policy? It's often driven by various motivations. People want to, so people want to be heard. People want to secure the job. People want to gain influence, right? People want to, protect their interests. By understanding these underlying motivations, employees can empathize with their colleagues and develop strategies to address conflicts constructively. How do I look at things in a constructive manner? How do I understand that this person wants to push an agenda, right? But I also need to make the person know that I don't have a problem pushing your agenda, but you should also try and look at it from this perspective. You will achieve your agenda. You will be known. You'll be recognized. But then you are also trying to make sure that the objective and you're not losing anybody at the end of the day. What are the do's and don'ts of we're rushing? So there's something I'm going to share with us, after these slides. I got that, and I want to mention about stakeholder management. It is very important in our discussion, right? I had that session recently, and I want to share something. I'll just put that up after this, please. The do's of office politics is that you need to build relations based on trust and respect. But let me also say this here: in addition to trust and respect, you need to first of all have a value system. So nobody will come to your house. Nobody will come to your house and come and question your values. It's your values. But when you are within the office environment, you should be flexible enough to be able to accommodate, right? So you need to know where to draw the line most of the time. Sorry, a second. Yes, you need to know where to draw. Be open to constructive feedback and suggestion from others. Participate in networking and socializing activities to expand. So it is important that you get involved in those informal settings, right? Don't engage in gossip or spread humor. So when you receive some of those things, you say, oh, wow. Oh, really? Are you serious? Is that how it is? So when you have those that kind of thing, you are not sending the person away. You're making the person feel comfortable in their deficiency, permitting to use that word. But then again, you're not losing the person completely. I have a very close colleague in the office, and whenever there is an issue, we have that very, very, very solid, strong discussions and say, okay, fine, I'm not happy with you. Or he comes back and say, Richard, I'm not impressed with you. Or I'm disappointed. Oh, I'm feeling terrible about this. You need to know how to have very, very hard discussions. You see, respect is built from those very hard conversations. That boss, that person within the company that you feel, oh, you've not really sat down with the person and have those conversations. It makes, in fact, it builds better relationship out of those conversations. So we need to also understand that, right? Let's look at the next slide, please. Okay, so be aware of your own biases and avoid favorites. Be aware of your, so it's not like, oh, so you know that somebody has a weakness, somebody talks too much, somebody is over, wants to prove a point. Some of us might be working under people who actually wants to prove a point, who wants all the glory to get to them. Don't even share the glory. Don't even try it. Allow them enjoy their glory. Your time will come. Your time will come. I was speaking to my wife, and I said, my wife wants to, I know she will be wondering why I'm mentioning her right now, but she wants to drive. I said, see this driving that you are just crazy about. I had to get someone to put her through and all of that. I said, you'll be tired. She said, let me get to that point where I'll be tired. So in career, truly, whatever you are looking for, as long as you are focused, you are diligent, you will get it. You see the promotion you're looking for, the recognition you're looking for, you will get it. And when you get it, at that point, if you look back and you have not built bridges, you have not built relationships, you have not built a formidable impression or personality or perception about yourself, my dear, everything you've achieved is actually rubbish. I'm sorry. But that's the truth. You get to that point where you look and say, oh, I had people along the way. People I carried even when it was difficult, even when they poured poop on me, when they, they treated me like shit, they treated me like crap, but I held on. And let me tell you something, there is no environment, this is my 8th work experience. Yeah. So I have worked in several, so I've seen different, and in these 14 years, I'll say that most times, if you stay a little longer, it will crack. It will crack. Whether it's the older generation that is still occupying, they will get to a point where they will have to transit, and it will not be millennials that will have to take up leadership positions, and then it will not be your time. It will crack, right? And when it cracks, 2 things will happen. You may not get the reference that you need, because somebody will always want to speak and say, who will take over my place when I'm gone? Who is my replacement? You might not be the person that they will want to speak. So if you don't manage that, that's going to be a very, developing EI and effective communication. Effective communication is vital to navigate office politics successfully. It involves active listening, clear articulation of ideas, and the ability to resolve conflicts diplomatically. Right? So you need to be able to articulate, okay, what do I want to push? And be patient. Guys, you see, you have this thing bubbling in your spirit. You want to burst with ideas. You want to hit the ground running from day one. Nah, I'm sorry, I'm Igbo. I'm going to say it this way, like an Igbo boy. Nah, guy, bro, calm down. Calm down. Get to know this other person at this side and say, okay, understand their views. They say people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Knowing how much you care allows them to assimilate whatever that you want to share with them. That is very vital. And I learned that the hard way. I learned that I got burnt several times. But, through that experience, I've been able to say I'm a better person. And you must know that, okay, first, allow their agendas come. So it will get to a point where the person will be like, I've been talking to you and I've been doing my own things. Okay, what of your own self? It will come. The problem is that we don't see the big picture. Somebody said, I was talking to somebody in the office, and I told the person that there's light at the end of the tunnel. The person now said, must there be lights at the end of the tunnel? Why can't it be? What if I don't get to do?
Why can't there should be lights at the beginning of the tunnel? Why do we wait until we get to the end?
So
right.
Those kind of belief system kind of impede growth. It makes you not to have that staying power. It's all called the recent, terminology now, sustainability. You need to be able to build a sustainable work ethic, a sustainable work style, a sustainable character, a sustainable disposition. Sustainable, mark my words, sustainable. That is, regardless of the environment and the people that you are interacting with, you need to be able to do that. So if you see here, focus on building credibility and expertise. Expertise in relationship, those are critical. Gaining influence through collaborative efforts and teamwork. Yes, I think that should be, let's move to 10th slide. Yeah, those are very, very important things. Sustainable character, sustainable work ethic, sustainable, belief system, sustainable approach. That is, you are not biased to how people behave. When they come to you, you are smiling. How do you do that? So somebody will say, sorry, somebody was speaking. So how do you do that? You're sitting in an environment where you know that these people doesn't work, what they do is not in sync with you, with what you believe. How do you remain calm? You need to build that tenacity, that depth of emotional maturity that say, I can handle this. Because if you don't, you have friction, and friction makes things get worse in the office. People will want to move their agenda. People will want to do eye service. There will be psychophants. There will be people who just, want to get it there, it has to be their way or the highway. There will be people like that. But being firm, being courageous, having that lightness of heart, knowing the extent to which you can collaborate with these people, seeing the strength in their weakness, and staying consistent in that approach, is what will keep you going even for a long time. Have you seen that certain companies that we have worked in, some people are still there and they're thriving even in that kind of toxic culture? And you ask yourself, how come they're still there and they're still getting promoted? Even in that kind of, what happened to them? What did they have? Or what do they have that you did not have or that you don't have? What approach did they give to their work that you did not give when you were there? Those are conversations that we need to start asking ourselves, because those people, if you go back and check them, they are doing much even better than you. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. So it's about building a sustainable work style, work ethic, work approach that regardless of the different kinds of people in the work environment, you are a solid professional. Let me put it that way. You know how to relate with all this. All right, I will stop here so that I can take some questions. Yeah.
Fantastic. Guys, please put some emojis, put some hearts, put some comments, put some fire for Don Richie. I call him Don Richie for obvious reasons. So please put some emojis out there for Don Richie. I think he's been amazing with these points that he shared concerning navigating office politics. I know that there are a few people who have their hands raised. I'm going to add first Victor Obo, because I had left Victor's question unanswered. Victor, please make it short and sweet. You have the floor. Ask your question, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Steve, for the opportunity. We appreciate Mr. Richard for your extemporaneous delivery. It's quite interesting to learn of your experience and how you navigate roles. So my question is, when Ms. Steve was doing a presentation, she mentioned positioning yourself in such a way that you get noticed when you are in a role, especially with people in top management. So my question is office politics same as lobbying? And trying to, in the Nigeria context, let me use Nigeria context. I've seen more people do eye service. They are not that professional. Eye service, lobbying, and then you see this guy doesn't know anything, but he gets to the top in a team. So the question is it morally professional to use such skills and tactics in getting your goal? So what is the main goal really? Is it just to get to the top irrespective of who you step on or the tactics you use? So so the two areas, lobbying in Nigerian context, eye service is very much in the office. And then you see people using those tactics and getting there. So I want you to professionally shed a little light in those areas that I mentioned. Thank you.
Okay, so the question, I wasn't sure if it was to Madam. I think you mentioned Madam during our presentation. Yes. So
yeah, of course, yes. Mr. Richard, you can also address it too. I think it's part of the you mentioned, because when Mr. Harris Mr. Steve was introducing you, I noticed that you've moved through a lot of role in your career ladders, moving from one role to the other and then getting where you are now. I'm sure that there must have been occasions where you met some colleague who were they're not just right for the role, but because they could know how to position themselves well, they know how to do like eye service, they know how to lobby, they got what they wanted. So is it a professional method to adopt in playing the office politics that we're talking about? So that's my question. Is it, do you have to just use what you have to get what you want?
Okay, so great. I'll just contribute to this, and I'm happy that my daddy Steve is here, so he would also provide context to it. So here, let me say this. Every stakeholder have different work style, different approach, different motivations, right? There are certain things that drive some people. Don't get me wrong. There are people who actually came in through competence, but over time, their personality took over their competence, and they tend to now thrive based on their personality and now downplay their competence. It doesn't mean that starting life, they didn't know anything. So permit me to also correct that narrative, or that impression that, oh, these people, they're not even competent. I'm sorry, some of them might be very good, but they found out that in this environment, you better start licking ass. You understand? It's important that you know that. So, and then in doing that, they had to now downplay their competence. And at some point, they lost it. And I'll be sincere with you. Some people can lose it completely. And then, what you're only seeing is the fact that they are psychophants, that they are errand boys, they're bootlickers. It happens in the environment. But everybody has something unique. So you that is now informed, you that is now mature, you need to now find what is the good in the bad. What is the good in this individual? And ask yourself, okay, so if this is the case, now what I do most times is try and point it out. Never write off people. Everybody has an agenda. You see, people were even employed. In fact, I've spoken on one part that somebody had to now downplay their competence. There's another agenda again. Some CEOs employ people just to have them in the position to do that. It's a sad reality, but it's the truth. You just come in, you are my eye. You're my eye in the company. You're my eye in the business. And knowing that, you should be able to now say, okay, fine, this individual, this is what he's driving. This is what's driving him. You know where to put this person. When you know how to place that person, what you need to now do is to say, okay, fine, what can I do that will also help this person be on my side to be able to push my agenda? Because everybody, there is always diamond in the slump. There's always something good in the bad. I'm telling you the truth. When you have that perception, that you will not get angry. You see somebody that, oh, we give them the work, they don't know it. See, let me tell you, they know something. They know relationship. They understand the informal chain of command. They understand the informal circles of command and control. That is that the people that you see in management meetings are not the ones that dictate what happens in the company. They understand that. They understand that they are the ones, when they go to golf club, when they go to nightclub, they are the ones that say, so Oga Richard, no, they try. I beg, I don't understand the guy. Oga Richard, sometimes we just come office, they even the great person, sir. I'm just telling you that.
Yeah.
When you know their role, you know how to manage this and bring out the best in them as well, and bring out the best in their competence. Their competence is that thing that they know how to talk. They have Oga's goodwill. See, let me tell you, the best thing you can have is Oga's. Oh my goodness, sir, please, I think I've spoken to that. So it's just creating that change of perception completely and say this person, and the truth of the matter, when you are in also a performance-driven environment, let me speak to that now, and a high-level, environment where that performance is, see, time is a revealer. You just have to stay focused on your part and do your work and see how you can navigate all those. Time is a revealer. The system goes through turbulence sometimes. There is no system that always is in a settled equilibrium. No. At some point, the system experiences turbulence. It is during that turbulence that people resign. It is during that turbulence that people are kicked out. You need to understand that. And when that happens, you know, they say when the rubber meets the road, I don't know how they put it, right?
Right.
You know, so that will definitely happen. And in such instances or scenarios, people are pushed out, people are left behind, people are redeployed to a very distant branch, and they're no longer in that place where you have them. And you now start seeing the right kinds of people being pushed into the system, right? So you need to also understand the face of the company. It's very, very important to think long term. When you think long term, you'll be able to say, this is where the future of this person is. 5 years from now, I don't think this person survive this system. I'm just painting it in a very ideal environment. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great question. Clapton, you have the floor. We can take maybe max, we've maxed out our time, but we can take perhaps 2 more questions. So Clapton, you have the floor. Go right ahead.
Thank you, sir. Firstly, Sir Richard, Oga Richard, it's an honor to hear from you. It's an honor to be in the same room as you. So my question is in connection to the statement you made referencing a book, which was, what got you here will not take you there. So for me, through the law of appreciation and honor, I'm now having the ears and the access to great men and women in every sector that I can think of, right? So I know that honor and appreciation has got me here, but at the same time, I know that now results are required. You know, I'll put it in football terms. You know, I feel like I'm Jude Bellingham. I've left a small club to go to Real Madrid, the Galacticos, right? And now I'm in this big club, and a part of me is panicking because, like, oh my goodness, I don't want to ruin this relationship that I've made with great people because of lack of results. So what would be your advice for me, please?
Okay. You see, you've actually, you have, you know, they say being able to identify your problem is a problem half solved, right? And to be honest, you've been able to understand what is actually the missing link, right? Let me say this. You know, a broken focus creates failure. A broken focus. That is, if you fail to focus, I began this conversation, I said, distraction is an enemy of distinction. You already know what you are lacking. You already know what you are not getting. When you focus on that, see, in no time, you would have built enough stamina and strength to be able to handle all of that, right? It's very, very important. I'll say this again. You have to be able to concentrate on the tasks, on the skills, on the weaknesses that you do not have, all right, until you are through with it. You have to be able to beat procrastination. What am I supposed to learn in this time of my life? Focus on it and don't procrastinate it. That is very good. So I'm happy that I wrote some of these things that maybe God helped me, or God spoke to me that it will come as a question. And you need to be able to create those boundaries and be able to have the capacity to say no to some things, right? Oh no, I'm not going to be weak in this area. Oh no, I'm going to build competency and strength and stability and, you know, agility in this area. You need to be able to say that. You understand? And I want to say this, you know, part of my point I wrote down here, the higher you rise, the busier you are going to get. The higher you rise, the busier you're going to get. And because you're going to be busy, you may fail to pay attention to the things that really matter. And you will now, you know, bring down, I'm looking for the word right now, reduce attention to those things that you should have actually looked at. Who says you cannot carry 5 competencies and you're focusing on relational skills? Who says you can't build competence in certain areas, right? And refuse to say, no, I can't. I'm looking at the no now in terms of self-development, right, Clapton? In terms of self-development, you have to pay attention to that. That is very critical, all right, to being the best you that you can be. You know, I hope I want to allow Steve to speak to that. Yeah.
I think that's Richard is absolutely correct. In my opinion, I would say that the purpose of relationships, or in this case, as Clapton has mentioned, having access to great people who he has found favor with, the most important thing is your value to them, if I may say, is in your ability to help them win. You know what I mean? It's your ability to help them win. So still using your Jude Bellingham, football, metaphor, doesn't matter how great Jude is, a great guy in the locker room. If the team doesn't win on the pitch, either through his goals or assists, he's just a nice guy, right? So really it's about how you show up on the pitch. Can you give me goals or assists? Can you get me closer to, where I desire to be? And that's where that incredible value comes in, because, I see you as a core member of the team who I have a great relationship with, but also helps me get results and sees where I'm lacking and sees how you can bridge that gap. So I think that's a very fundamental way to also look at it. Richard, I have one final question before we let you go, and thank you so much for your time. How do we connect with you? Because a lot of people are loving the contents that you've put out there. We want to be able to, catch up with you. Are you on Instagram? How do we, there are people who perhaps need guidance in their career as human resources professionals as well. And I know you offer those sorts of coaching services and stuff like that. How can people connect with you as well?
Okay, fantastic. I'm on LinkedIn, Richard Obiechie. So I'm going to type it on the meeting room.
Yeah, you should type it because we can't spell it.
Okay, so that's for LinkedIn. So you could reach me there. I'm on Instagram, so at Richie Obiechie. The Richie Obiechie that follows Steve Harris, not the Richie Obiechie that you see around, the one that follows Steve Harris. You check it. That's how you know it's me. So you could reach me on these platforms. Yeah. If you want to have a call, yeah, you can call me directly too. So let me just put that there. WhatsApp, I'll definitely reach out.
So just send Richard a WhatsApp message. You got to be polite. Don't call him right off the bat. Send him a message and ask if it's okay to call.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Don Richie, you are fantastic as always. And I'm glad that my boss lady here, recommended you, and I was like, oh, of course, absolutely. So I'm going to hand over to her because this is her shot. This is her show. I've just been the moderator for today. So, madam, over to you.
Thank you so much, Richard. This has been, I was even taking notes, this was really good. I really, really, really appreciate you. And I'm sure that we've learned a lot from, paying attention to the learning process, to letting the challenges help us grow. There have been lots of points that are taken. And thank you for being gracious to, sharing your number with us. And like Steve said, please, guys, send a message first before you call. And I know that there are still more questions on the chat that we couldn't answer. So, you can stylishly ask him those questions later, and I'm sure he would answer. But I want to thank you so much for taking our time to be with us here today. And we've learned a lot. And I hope you'll be gracious, when we ask you to come back again, because we want to always learn more. I hope you'll be able to, come, spend this, weekend or this time with us. So thank you so much. So guys, also put your hearts or, clapping emojis or whatever to say thank you to him. And as we round off, I would like, I think we'll just round off here. I know that there's still many more questions. I would like to indulge you guys. This happens once in a month, and we'll send information out for the next time that we're having this session. It's called the Business Conversation series. If you have ideas of people you want us to invite, also ideas of things you want us to talk about that are pressing issues at your office place, please feel free to shoot us an email, and of course we'll consider those topics. Thank you again, everyone, for coming. I'm sure
I
Tonya
also
has.
wanted to. I also wanted to say
Go
something.
ahead.
So just before
Yeah.
we round it off. So just as she's just mentioned about if there are faculty that you would like us to bring on this platform, as you can tell, it's absolutely free. They're called business conversations. But we need a favor from you. We need you to have conversations about our business. All right. So this is business conversations, but now we need you to have conversations about our business. And what does that mean? Many of you are entrepreneurs or career professionals, allow me to say. You're career professionals, you work in organizations who need some of the services that we offer. So just right off the bat, we offer training programs, we offer strategy programs, we offer team bonding sessions, leadership, customer service, all those sorts of things, coaching. So if there are, and I believe that there are needs in your organization that you feel like your organization would benefit from some of the things that our company EdgeEcution does, we would be very, very glad if you could make a recommendation or set up a meeting if you have that kind of power. Like Richard has mentioned, you understand the office politics, you're competent, your bosses trust you, you understand the game of politics, they also trust your judgment. We would ask that you would kindly set up a meeting for a conversation. But here's the interesting thing about it. We are also offering commissions to everyone who gets us through the door where we ultimately get the work. I don't know the details of that conversation, but I'm sure Tonya or Emma would be able to communicate that. But what I'm saying is, when you make a recommendation for us into your organization and we get the job, we will give you a commission from the work that we've gotten. So there's also something in it for you. So while you're having business conversations with us, please have conversations about our business with your organization. If you need more clarity concerning that, simply send us an email. Just reply to the email that we sent you. And then we'll take up the conversation with you, and then we'll call you and we'll have a conversation. I need to say that, or else my boss lady would deduct my salary for not mentioning that. So yeah, over to you.
Okay. All right. I think all has been said. Thank you again, Steve, for staying through. Thank you, Tonya, for coming through also. And thank you so much, Richard. We really appreciate this time. Thank you guys for being here. From us is goodbye and see you in about a month's time. So take care, guys.
Before you go, because I know she's gonna end the meeting. Before you go, some people are asking how you can watch this again. We have a YouTube channel called EdgeEcution. What we'll do is we'll send an email sometime, maybe by Monday, so you can get the link to the replay of this conversation, so that you can just click it and watch it all over again, and so on and so forth. All right. So thank you so much. I'm done talking. Don Richie, you're the best.
Thank
all
you,
right,
sir.
guys. Thank you. We're
Thank you.
out. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
guys.
All right.